Welcome to the show, guys. We are talking about the top 10 fantasy football sleepers for 2022 fantasy football. I'm excited to dive into this episode. Now, note, this is the non-rookie. Let me repeat, this is the non-rookie list. So I will not include rookies here, but there is a ton of wide receiver, running back, and maybe a quarterback or two sleepers that are rookies as well. So I'm not going to dive into those. Alec Pierce, for example, Christian Watson, Tyler Algier, and I can go on and on and on. And I implore you guys to make sure you guys are subscribed because there's a ton more content coming your way in regards to rookie sleepers. And of course, all of this is covered in my 16-round draft solution. So I've linked it below as well if you are on YouTube. If not, head over to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. If you're listening to this, guys, use code TUBE20, save yourself 20%, and get the solution. Everything is there. Sleepers, breakouts, optimal DFS plays, immersive video training. The future of fantasy has arrived. Get 16 rounds, guys. I implore you. Everything in one spot. It's going to save you countless of hours of research and time. It's like having me at the draft with you. 16-round draft. So you should scrap the draft kits and magazines. This is the game changer. Use code TUBE20. All right, there's my plug. If you are new, make sure you guys are subscribed. We're going to be diving in right now into the top 10, sleepers. Okay, so it's a combination. I got a quarterback or two, and actually I got two quarterbacks. I got a couple running backs and some wide receivers, even a tight end in here as well. So very, very important episode. Now, what I'm going to start doing before episodes is one thing that I think I should be doing more is talking a little bit more about life and what's going on with the fantasy football community a little bit more. So I'm going to start doing story time with the counselor before some of these shows, start. So we're going to dive right into this. Okay. So I'm going to leave maybe some timestamps as well. You can get to sleeper 1, sleeper 2, but I want to do some story time. So I get DMs a lot. I don't know if you guys know, number one Instagram page verified on Instagram for fantasy sports. Okay. So I get a ton of DMs. There's literally I'd probably say, I could even guess, 20,000 DMs, okay, waiting that I haven't even opened because it's just physically impossible. So people are DMing me their grades saying, well, Joe, you like these players, but some of the players you like, I'm getting a bad grade. First, when you do those mock drafts and they, these networks come back with a grade, they say it's an F or a D predicated on their experts' opinions. So I'm getting these people messaging me and saying, I got a bad grade. These people said I had a bad grade. This website said I had a bad grade. First and foremost, guys, the last time I ever got graded on anything, I think it was probably either high school or elementary school or something like that, right? Grades are elementary, right? First and foremost, this is just childish. Fantasy football, first and foremost, I'm all about winning. I'm very competitive, but it's also about having fun too, okay? And these guys grading you, they're just trying to kick the fun out of you. That's first and foremost, but that's not even the point I'm trying to make here. Secondly, these guys aren't even experts. They don't even know what they're talking about because, I'll tell you why. I can prove this to you. Last year, okay, I did a ton of mock drafts. I won I didn't win one league. I finished second or third in it. I was in 4 leagues. I won them pretty much all of them. And I would always get bad grades. Why? Because I was taking Najee round 1. Actually, I got him round 2 because I was ahead of the curve, right? I drafted earlier, so I was able to get him round 2. But they thought Najee was outside the top 10, right? I was drafting Cooper Kupp, right? People are like, well, that the grade wouldn't make sense because based on ADP, Cooper Kupp was ranked below Robert Woods. So if you were to draft Cooper Kupp higher on his ADP, you'd get a bad grade. Does that make sense? Another example, Deebo Samuel was on my show. And Ayuk, guys, listen to this. Ayuk was ranked ahead of Deebo Samuel. So if you were to draft Deebo Samuel, you would get a bad grade. Does this make sense? So the people grading you have no idea what they're talking about, and they're grading you predicated on ADP consensus consensus rankings. So I had to share that story with you. I know a lot of people are like, I got this bad grade. It's BS. Don't listen to it, okay? Drop a comment below if you guys get those grades and your thoughts on them. I'd love to hear it, all right? So that's the first thing. So second thing, guys, I'm going to get into this. Make sure you guys are subscribed, thumbs up, and I'm telling you guys, I want to just talk really quickly, lion mentality, okay? Do not follow the herd. Do not follow the mainstream, because I found this in life as well, that what happens is people are always, it's a consensus, like a herd mentality. Once you follow that herd, you're going to be stuck with the flock, with the sheep, right? You don't want to do that. You want to stray away, think for yourself. And even though it's not a popular opinion, Sometimes it's the right opinion. Go with that gut, okay? All right, let's dive into these top 10 sleepers here right now. And again, I like the story time with the counselor. I think I'm going to give you guys some value at the beginning of each show, all right? So first sleeper here. Again, we're talking about avoiding the herd and staying away and all that fun stuff. The first sleeper here is not popular. He's just not. And again, you could say he's old, but the guy I'm talking about is Matt Ryan. I got him as my first sleeper. Why do I like him? Now, I'm not telling you to draft him as your QB1, although I think he could finish top 10 easily this year. Easily. In 2018, he was the number 2 quarterback in fantasy. A long, long time ago, back in 2018, Matt Ryan was the number 2 quarterback in fantasy points, okay? In 2019, he finished 11th amongst quarterbacks. Not bad, okay? So you can see that, there's a big drop-off there. And then where did he finish last year? Finished 19th last year. I think in 2020, he was like 12th or something. So he finished 19th. He had a bit of a dip typically from where he finishes. But I think that Matt Ryan, I think he had enough with the Falcons. I think he was like, I had enough with this team. The O-line's not protecting me. I'm not fond of the coaching. I need a new environment. I need to shake things up. And I really genuinely feel, not just being a bit of a Colts fan, I really genuinely feel it's a perfect home for Matt Ryan. Now, there is some question marks about wide receivers. I think T.Y. Hilton, at the time of this recording, was talking about getting shipped off. A lot of teams, some teams showing interest in him. They got Alec Pierce, one of the best, on paper, one of the best pure deep ball receivers out of this 2022 draft class. So they got Alex Pierce. They've got Pittman. They've got one of the best running backs, arguably, if not the best running back in the game, in Jonathan Taylor. They got a good O-line. Matt Ryan's going to get revived. And all I'm saying to you is this, okay? Like, he throws a lot. Like, throws more than anybody, So his attempts are going to be there because he doesn't run very much. So he's going to make it up in touchdowns. He's going to make it up in passing yards. So he's got more time to do with a good O-line now. All I'm saying is this. In a 2-quarterback league, make sure you got him, right? In a 1-quarterback league, make sure you consider him as a backup. I like him. Okay, he's on the Colts. He's starting. He's going to get the volume. He's going to get a lot of passes. He's going to get a lot of touchdowns. You know what? Matt Ryan is going to eat, okay? Bottom line, he's gonna throw the ball a lot. He's gonna get volume. He's gonna, he wants to get a Super Bowl here with the Colts. Okay, so don't sleep on Matt Ryan as a backup quarterback. And again, right now, currently sitting 20th amongst quarterbacks. So in a 1-quarterback league, a lot of people don't stack 2 quarterbacks, so he's going undrafted. So Matt Ryan's my first sleeper here. Second guy here. Now, from what I'm hearing from inside information, can't say who, when, why, what. Apparently he's put on 10 pounds of muscle. The guy I'm talking about is David Montgomery, sitting 16th amongst running backs right now on the consensus. So I look at a guy like David Montgomery. What I'm seeing here, aside from Khalil Herbert being there, now Khalil Herbert as a backup running back is good. He stepped in those games that Montgomery missed last year. Montgomery played 13 games, 225 attempts, 849 yards, 7 touchdowns. Had he played those 3-4 games that he missed, we're talking over 1,200 rushing yards. We're talking 250-plus attempts. We're talking 10 touchdowns. But he didn't play those. So he lost some yardage, lost some attempts, and that type of thing, right? It would have been almost 300 attempts. David Montgomery's coming back healthier. There's no Nagy to hinder his performance. Fields is now into the groove. Now wide receivers, they've got Mooney, which we'll talk about later. But, Montgomery's going to eat. Now he may face some stacked boxes. He has been played with some injuries, some nagging stuff here and there. But I still think David Montgomery's a winner. I think that you're going to get him for value. I see him coming off as late as, the 3rd round, which I think is a steal because you have other guys that won't get that volume being drafted ahead of him. Guys like, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, who's got Dylan breathing down his neck, Antonio Gibson, all ranked ahead of David Montgomery. And I really like David Montgomery as a sleeper. So this guy could be that first-round top 5, top 10 finisher for fantasy points, but he's coming off for value. Now, finally, no hindrance with Nagy, which is really exciting. I still think he's a sleeper based on that value, being a workhorse with no committee. They didn't draft anybody else. He is the guy, David Montgomery, as a sleeper, all right? Now, again, we're talking non-rookies. There's a ton of rookie sleepers. Like I said, Tyler Algier, Dameon Pierce. I could go on and on with a bunch of different rookies that we're talking about. So make sure you guys are subscribed, and everything is in 16 rounds, okay? Third guy here. Now, a lot of people disagree with this guy, and I got to talk about him, is Saquon Barkley. He is a sleeper because Saquon Barkley is actually sitting 19th, which is ludicrous. At the time of this recording, in standard, sitting 19th amongst running backs, okay? So I mean, where is he sitting in PPR? Actually, he's a little higher in PPR, 14th in PPR. So I apologize. 14th in PPR, 19th in standard. Either way, I'm getting David Montgomery. I saw him. I did a mock draft the other day. He actually fell to the third round, which is pretty remarkable. Now, when you look at a guy like Christian McCaffrey, you could look at a guy like Saquon Barkley. Christian McCaffrey's coming off. He's a second-ranked running back right behind Jonathan Taylor in PPR. I'm looking at it right now. They've got Taylor, McCaffrey, Eckler, Najee, Cook, Henry in PPR. I'm still drafting Henry as number one. Doesn't matter. PPR doesn't matter. Half-point PPR doesn't matter. Standard, Henry's the number one running back in football right now. Taylor's going to have a natural regression, but that's a whole other topic. Talk about it in the 16-round draft solution and other videos down the road. All I'm saying is this. Saquon Barkley's a stud. Had a good 2018 year. 2019, I think he played 13 games, then fell off with injuries, had that major knee injury. Now he's 2 years removed. They've improved the O-line. They preserved him last year. They knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. They preserved him. They put in Booker in there, had a lot of volume, preserved Saquon Barkley. Smart move. Now they're ready to cut him loose. This is the year of the Barkley, and it's a contract year. Contract year. Improved O-line. He's hungry. He's 2 years removed off injury. He's ultra elite talent. This is the year for Saquon Barkley. I miscalculated last year. I'm going to be straight with you. I miscalculated. Okay, I thought I'd be ready to go. Sure enough, now he is. So Saquon Barkley, big-time sleeper. This guy could finish top as the top running back in football this year. I'm stashing him in second rounds in all my leagues. I'm taking that risk. And again, I can afford to do that because I know where I can get depth in case Saquon doesn't work out. I have a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan. So if you do draft Saquon, make sure he's part of a robust RB strategy where even if he busts, which I don't think he will, unless he gets hurt, that's the biggest issue. But again, anyone gets hurt. People are drafting Dalvin Cook ahead of him. He hasn't finished the season. He's guaranteed to get hurt. Dalvin Cook is guaranteed to get hurt. Yet people are still drafting him top 5. So I look at Saquon Barkley. That's a steal. That's a sleeper for me. Top 3, top 5, maybe even top 1 running back in fantasy points by the end of the year. So I'm all over that. Next guy here, going back to wide receiver, is Amari Cooper. I mean, the guy's been in the league. He's going into, his 8th season or something like that. Amari Cooper is sitting 18th amongst wide receivers right now. Okay, so I'm looking at Amari Cooper and thinking, he's a wide receiver 1. All right, and I don't care any way you look at it. I know they drafted David Bell third round out of Purdue, but I'm looking at Amari Cooper from Cleveland. You know, Deshaun Watson, if he gets going, there's no suspension, everything's good. He's the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. Volume is going his way. Bottom line, there is no Gallup there. There's no CeeDee Lamb. It's Cooper time. Okay. He's at, and here's the cool thing about him. Like, he hasn't been a phenomenal receiver, like over the top, but out of the 7 years he's played, he's at 5. He's 5 for 7 in regards to receiving yards over 1,000 yards. So he's had 5 seasons over 1,000 yards receiving. So that's pretty interesting. And again, he's the wide receiver 1. And why I call him a sleeper is this. I'm looking at the rankings, okay? I'm going to pull them up here in PPR. Now, I'm seeing him sitting 18th. I see guys like DJ Moore, who's done nothing. I see Jalen Waddle, who's the wide receiver 2, and T. Higgins, who's the wide receiver 2, sitting at 13 and 14. Higgins at 13, Jalen Waddle at 14. Okay, I see A.J. Brown, who's done nothing for the past couple of years, sitting there with a quarterback who may or may not break out, with Devontae Smith being there. Devontae Smith is still the one there. He was the one. A.J. Brown's coming in. You could say that A.J. Brown is coming in as the wide receiver 1, very possible, but Devontae Smith was slated as the one, drafted to be the one in Philly. Is there going to be enough targets and volume to go around? I don't know. Devontae Smith had like 104 targets last year, and he's still there. How is A.J. Brown going to finish top 10 where he's sitting with Devontae Smith there and Devontae's peaking at like just over 100 targets? Doesn't make sense to me. So I've got all these other wide receivers I'm seeing ranked ahead of Amari, and Amari I'm getting in the 4th round in mock drafts. That to me is a sleeper. That to me is a wide receiver 1. That to me is a steal, and that's constant production, consistent production. So am I over the top, excited, over the moon over Amari Cooper? Absolutely not. But I'm seeing the value. I'm seeing a wide receiver 1. I'm getting him in the 4th round. Bottom line. Next guy here, another steal. Guys, this guy's sitting 10 spots below Amari Cooper, who's a wide receiver 1. His team is Darnell Mooney, another sleeper. Guys, listen. I mean, he's going into his 3rd season. He's got no other competition there at wide receiver. They've got, Velus Jones and Pringle. Pringle is the wide receiver 2. Now you can say, well, Joe, is he going to be able to handle top coverage? I don't think I care. I think he'll be good, not only good enough to handle the top cover, basically the top receiver, cornerback, I should say. But what I think is, I don't think he's good enough to draw double coverage. So I think he can handle the one-on-ones. And not only that, it's a volume thing. He's going to get the volume. And apparently he's been training off-season. He's really good friends with Justin Fields. So I think there's going to be a good connection there. And I think he's completely underrated. So Darnell Mooney finished 23rd in PPR last year. 140 targets, 81 receptions, 1,055 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That tells me there's more of a ceiling to be had, more touchdowns to be had. All right? There's no hindrance of the Nagy as a coach. Fields gets into the groove, and you're getting this guy for an absolute steal. You're getting a wide receiver 1 later. Okay, so I don't even know what to tell you, but you're getting this guy like round 6, maybe even early. I think his ADP is going to slide up, right? Value. All right? Now, these sleepers, they don't sound exciting, but they could pretty much shock you. And again, I'm going to mix and match these guys with my wide receiver sleepers that are rookies as well. Now you've got huge breakout potential. These are just non-rookies. So it gets really interesting when you combo this and, line up that optimal roster with a mix of these guys with your rookies. Got an amazing combination. All right. Coming to number 6 here. Now, talent-wise, obviously, we haven't seen it with this guy, but Christian Kirk is number 6. I'm not overly excited. What I'm excited about with Christian Kirk is a couple things. Why I'm excited. Number 1, they paid him a lot, which means he's going to be used. I don't see any other way around it. So he's getting a lot of flack. He's getting a lot of like, oh, you guys think I suck, which he has sucked over the past couple of years. But I don't think volume was there for him, right? He had Hopkins. He was lining up with better receivers. So he never really got going. Now he's got an opportunity. So I'm looking at him. Where is he sitting? He's sitting like 40th. He's with Jacksonville now, with a quarterback who couldn't get it going in Trevor Lawrence last year. He was his number 1 pick. This guy is drafted. He's an elite, according to football, elite player, Trevor Lawrence. He just never got it going last year. Travis Etienne was hurt, rookie year, just never got it going. Now in comes Christian Kirk as the wide receiver 1. Marvin Jones is still there. They've got Laviska Shenault. They don't really have a lot of options. Christian Kirk, based on volume, based on chip on his shoulder for everyone hating him, based on the fact he's a wide receiver 1 with a young quarterback who was highly sought out in last year's draft. There's opportunity. There's something there. There's a seed there there's something brewing that could, result in fantasy, boom type potential. Now, the cool thing is I don't got to pay a lot to get him. I'm not saying draft Christian Kirk round 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5. You can get this guy later, see where he falls, do a bunch of mock drafts. Maybe you get him in round 5, round 6. I think that's where he's actually coming off, round 6. You're getting a wide receiver 1, potentially on a team that is a little suspect, obviously, for absolute value. Okay, so again, Christian Kirk, sleeper, some upside there, boom or bust type pick, all right? Number 7 here, again, big-time sleeper, sitting 24th amongst wide receivers, is Courtland Sutton, okay? Now, Courtland Sutton, again, didn't have the greatest year last year, but they was crazy at quarterback with Teddy and everybody else. It was just a disaster. Now they've got a quarterback. They've got Russell Wilson. I'm looking at Courtland Sutton's numbers last year, 98 targets, 58 receptions, 776 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing to get excited about, and I understand. But he's a touchdown monster, and he's there to replace DK Metcalf, right? He is now Russell Wilson's DK Metcalf. And it's funny because DK Metcalf is ranked like 17th, right? And we've got this guy in Courtland Sutton ranked like, where's Courtland Sutton sitting? Courtland Sutton sitting 24th. So he's well behind. Now he's got Metcalf's quarterback. So there's a ton of upside with Russell Wilson there. I still think Russell Wilson, blows up this year, has a big year. And I think Courtland Sutton's the beneficiary. Now, Judy's up there as well. Judy's only had like 3 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons. Hasn't really got it going. Judy and Sutton are sitting at 23-24. It's crazy because one of them is going to be the wide receiver 1. They've got a good quarterback that makes fantasy receivers pretty high. One of these guys could crack the top 12, top 5, top 10. Judy Sutton looks like the off-field issues with Judy. I don't know if that's going to lead to a suspension. We're not sure. But Sutton's a bit of a safer option right now. Judy, again, Russell, they were training a lot. They are training a lot together. Again, the jail with Judy and what happened there and the off-field issues, that's a bit of a concern to me. It's kind of turned me off a little bit about him. But I like Sutton here as a sleeper at 7. Okay, one of these guys is going to go off. You're getting a wide receiver 1. Even if you go, in later rounds, like round 6, 7, or mid-rounds, you go Judy and Sutton back-to-back, you're getting a wide receiver one on that team with Russell Wilson throwing the ball. So again, this is what I'm telling you. There's so much value at wide receiver. It's incredible. All right, so Courtland Sutton there. Coming in number 8, Robert Tonyan. Okay, listen, he's sitting right now 16th amongst tight ends, which is absolute steal. Okay, now why do I 19th in PPR? I apologize, 19th. I think 16th in standard, okay? 19th in PPR, Robert Tonyan. Why do I like him? Well, in 2020, he played 16 games. He had 59 targets, right? 52 receptions. So he's catching everything coming his way pretty much, right? 59 targets, 52 receptions. 586 yards. I believe he had 11 touchdowns. So you're saying, well, Joe, that's great. Last year he had a bad year. He dropped. Now, he only played, I think, 8 games last year, 2 touchdowns, got hurt. Now, why do I like him? Aaron Rodgers, right, likes his tight ends sometimes. He liked them a couple years ago. I like him because Adams is gone. There's 169 freed up targets. So I'm rolling the dice on Christian Watson and Tonyan as two of the beneficiaries, guys. Two of the beneficiaries for Aaron Rodgers with Adams out. So Tonyan, I'm stealing in later rounds. He's an absolute steal. You can get him around 9-10. Now his ADP should go up as you're starting to hear all of the offseason stuff and the training and all that stuff. His ADP should rise. But Robert Tonyan, guys, I'm telling you, is an absolute sleeper and a steal at the tight end position. 169 freed up targets. No Adams there, guys. Someone's got to get that load. A healthy Tonyan, you're looking at 10 to 12 touchdowns. Big year coming for him. I'm telling you right now, Robert Tonyan, sleeper, okay? Number 9 here, not a popular opinion, but that's okay. Adam Thielen. Now, I just did a story mode on my Instagram. I had a bunch of numbers here. I'll show you these numbers, actually. Maybe I could pull out the paper. It's chicken scratch here, but take a look at these numbers here. So if you're in the car, guys, I'm just showing a bunch of numbers that make absolutely no sense. It's got 2 numbers, one on top of each other. Now, well, Joe, why do you have these numbers written on a paper? We're talking Adam Thielen here at number 9 as a sleeper for me, a big-time sleeper. Adam Thielen is currently sitting 37th amongst wide receivers, okay? And we already talked about wide receiver 2s being sitting very high on the ADP. We talked about Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins. Higgins at 13, Waddle at 14, right? They're the wide receiver 2s on their team respectively. And clearly the wide receiver 2s, because we know Chase is better than Higgins. We know 100% that Tyreek is better than Waddle. What you don't know is if Thielen is still the wide receiver 1 with the Minnesota Vikings. You're saying, Joe, you're crazy. You're nuts. How is that impossible? Jefferson's a clear-cut wide receiver 1. Very well true. But I don't want to spend a first-round pick on Jefferson. I like value. Now, going back to these numbers, what do these numbers mean? Very simple. I've got 2 sets of numbers. The top one, it's a target. These are targets from Jefferson and Thielen. Thielen and Jefferson, first 9 weeks, okay? So, top number is Thielen here. 10 targets to Jefferson, 9. Week 1, Thielen had more targets. Week 2, 7 to 10 in favor of Jefferson. Jefferson had more targets. Week 3, 9-11, right? So 11 targets for Jefferson, 9 for Thielen. Jefferson wins again. Week 4, Thielen had 8 targets. Jefferson had 7. Okay? Week 5, 3 targets for Thielen, 8 targets for Jefferson. Where are we now? Week 6, 13 targets for Thielen, 14 targets for Jefferson. Week 8, 9 targets for Thielen, 4 targets for Jefferson. And week 9, 7 targets for Thielen, 5 targets for Jefferson. What's the point of this, Joe? The point is there's some weeks where Thielen out-targeted Jefferson. And out of all the weeks, except for pretty much, I'm just talking the first 9 weeks. I know Thielen got hurt near the end of the season. Except for week 5, where it was 3 targets for Thielen, 8 for Jefferson. They're pretty close in targets. And I want to emphasize because this is an important point here. Okay, so how is Thielen sitting 37th amongst, wide receivers? And I've got, Waddle and Higgins 13th to 14th in their wide receiver 2s. And we know that I think there should be a big gap, between those guys, their wide receivers. And not to mention, we don't even trust Tua. How is Waddle up there when he didn't have any targets last year, major targets last year, and now Tyreek Hill's there. So, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you could say that Thielen's fallen off, but I'm drafting him for value. I don't really care. He's a steal for me. So he's a sleeper, 37th amongst wide receivers. I'm still debating whether he's the one or not. Okay. And he still had, I think they had the same amount of touchdowns last year. I think Thielen and Jefferson. Look it up. I think they both had like 10. Look it up. All right. Anyways, again, rankings make no sense to me. You got to draft the best player based on, research, depth chart, opportunity, volume, talent, all that stuff, right? It's about adding depth. With Thielen bust, I don't care. I got Alec Pierce. I got Christian Watson. I got so much depth at wide receiver. I'm still getting about 3 or 4 wide receiver ones on my team. I don't care. I'm getting the value. And number 10 here now, again, not a popular opinion. This one doesn't get me excited, but got to talk about him is Mac Jones. Mac Jones sitting now, again, going undrafted as well. Good backup. I think people are sleeping on him. I think he's a relatively good quarterback. Now, he finished 18th last year amongst quarterbacks, 38.01 in regards to passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, not the greatest. Apparently, he's been working heavily off season, going into his second season, and he's saying that he really, really wants to improve. He's got, good coaching there. That's been Belichick and the coaching staff there. They know what they're doing. They know how to groom quarterbacks. They obviously believe in Mac Jones as kind of that replacement for Brady. Is he going to be the next Brady? Probably not, but I get the value. I get the value for him as a backup that's going to be consistent. Now, there was a couple dud games. I looked at his stats. There were a couple dud games, but hey, there was a bunch of games where he's really consistent, had a couple 22, 23, 24-point type games. Value, especially if people are scrounging or, for like a 2-quarterback league when you want that third quarterback as a backup. And remember, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, always get 3 quarterbacks. If you want that quarterback, guys, Mac Jones could be that guy as a backup. He's going to be safe and, one of those slow and steady wins the race kind of guys, lower ceiling. That's okay. Mac Jones is a sleeper, and I still think the talent is there. They've improved the receiving core a little bit, got him some more weapons. Could be exciting year for Mac Jones and a sleeper at the quarterback position. All right. Sitting 23rd right now, going undrafted. All right. So again, these are the non-rookie sleeper list, right? We got Matt Ryan, David Montgomery, Saquon Barkley, Amari Cooper, Darnell Mooney, Christian Kirk, Cortland Sutton, and Judy, Robert Tonyan, Adam Thielen, Mac Jones. Guys, these guys are great value. And they're all pretty much starters or wide receiver ones or running back ones on their team that are just being underrated. These are wide receiver ones. Okay, so it's not like I'm pulling this out of a hat and saying, oh, you know what, Darnell Mooney, he's just a sleeper because I like him because he's a good-looking guy or what. No, these guys are top of their depth charts. Like, I don't know how else to tell it to you other than Thielen, but he's sitting 37th amongst wide receivers, and Jefferson's sitting, top 3? Number 2, give me Thielen at 37 when their target share was pretty much equal between the first 9 weeks. Okay? Does this make sense? Hopefully it does. I'm not just telling you draft them in this order because they finished on top last year. Outside the box thinking, that's how you win your leagues, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Comment below. Let me drop a sleeper below. And subscribe to the channel and get 16 rounds. You'll crush your leagues. If this is making sense to you, join the Lion community and grab 16 rounds. All right, guys? Use code TUBE20. I'm out. I appreciate you guys being here. We'll talk soon.